Hello and welcome to What Not Another One, as you're here for episode 6, I think it is. Hopefully all the episodes so far have been enjoyable. We are sort of taking a detour to return to a sort of topic we discussed previously.
The
Donald
first
Trump.
episode that we discovered. We've come back to the first episode.
No, second.
What was the first? How many have we done?
Dominic Raab.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I got too close to the mic there. Yeah, Dominic Raab was the first one.
Yeah.
No, Williamson. Sorry. Oh God.
Can
There's
you
too
tell
many
I've been
things. Oh God.
Can you tell I've been on the port and the Baileys already this Christmas?
Yeah, at the moment we won't talk about what I've been drinking. Yeah, so we're going to return to Donald Trump because this week he was recommended to the DOJ in the US for criminal charges by the US Senate committee, which have been investigating January 6th, which I know from what you said in that last episode has left a massive imprint on your memory for life as a journalist. Yeah. You want to take us through it?
Yeah, it's the whole, January 6th. It's been ongoing for however many months. And I think I said in the other episode that we did that, Trump has blood on his hands. People died that day. So I think the recommendation of the charges is probably the right thing. I don't know how far it's going to go because everything in the US seems to just sort of slow down. It's a Democrat-led committee, so you knew what the outcome was going to be, really.
Yeah.
Whether or not charges actually do get brought forward, because I don't think it's any, it's a separate thing from the House and the Senate, isn't it? It's not. It's not. It's not an impeachment vote sort of thing. It is a criminal investigation.
Yeah. The Senate committee can only recommend to the DOJ what actions to take. The DOJ, who are running their own investigation, can then take those recommendations and act upon them as they wish, which obviously will see what they choose to do.
Yeah. How does the Mariah Carey song? All I want for Christmas is criminal charges brought against the 45th president of the United States. That's how it goes, isn't it? I've heard that a few times.
Oh God. Yeah. So much for impartiality. Yeah. So basically, the charges that have been brought against him, charges of conspiracy to defraud the United States, obstructing official procedure, because of obstructing Biden's victory certification back in 2020, conspiracy to make a false statement, and also inciting or assisting an insurrection. And 2 of those charges come with life sentences. And in some states, I'm pretty sure they actually come with a death penalty. You're talking about some of the highest level of treason you can commit in the United States. Treason in the United States, it's not just any sort of crime. The United States takes treason as being like as bad as on the Bible. That's how they treat it. Like it is completely fundamentally non-American to be treasonous. So for Donald Trump to have done this, I mean, they talk about him treating the Constitution with absolute disregard. What will happen if he does go to court with this? He has to slow this down as much as he can for him to get away with it, because there's no way he can come out surely with anything remotely positive. He will be charged because the House committee, the Senate committee, have found him to be per se guilty. They can't find him guilty, but you know what I mean. Like, found him to have been complicit in January 6th. If it goes to the courts and the DOJ do take him to court, I don't see how he can just get away with it. He'll be charged with at least one of these charges for sure.
He'll say he's got bone spurs and get out of it like he did for the draft.
Oh my God.
He's a man who may as well be may as well have Vaseline all over him at any point. He's so slippery and manages
That's
to
such
get...
a horrible image.
But he just manages to get away with stuff. He just manages to somehow slip away and let things get into the background. And I don't think this... He tweeted on his Truth Social platform. He said, "Double jeopardy, anyone?" Like, you know, the whole double jeopardy rule in America where... And I think in the... I don't know, to some extent in the UK, where, you know, if you've already... Because he's been impeached for that, he says that he can't then be criminally charged for it. Which I'm pretty sure isn't how double jeopardy works.
I'm pretty sure that's not how the law works in general.
Yeah. He's a man who has his idea of the law and how things should work, and that is how he thinks it should be. It's not how the real world works at all. So I think it'll be interesting the next few months in the US just to see what happens, see how long the DOJ investigation carries on for, see whether Trump comes out of Mar-a-Lago to say anything.
Yeah.
Or...
I wouldn't be surprised if he just locks himself away, to be honest. I
Yeah,
mean, he's already ignored one subpoena. I don't think he's going to try and, you know, accept any others.
Yeah, he's going to lock himself in the safe that he locked all the confidential documents that he shouldn't have taken in. Yeah, I mean, the whole subpoena thing in the US, like, that's what, like, people get served with papers, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they just have to disguise themselves as like a Coca-Cola delivery man, and that'd be fine. Like, it'd happily let him in. He had a button in the White House, didn't he, where he pressed it and someone would bring him a Coke. Like, oh
yeah,
wow.
some weird things. But I think what's going on, you know, like with this is this is probably one of the biggest tests of the US legal system in its history. And we're taking into consideration all the cases following 9/11, and you know, the cases of the CIA torturing people there. That was a big test of the legal system. This is arguably up there as being almost bigger than that, because this will define, is the US a democracy or not? Because, and I mean like an actual true democracy, not what they seem to consider democracy sometimes, which is everyone has the right to do whatever the hell they want. Because otherwise you're risking Donald Trump will just go in there, plead his innocence. The judge will somehow be somewhat right wing because they're allowed to be. They're allowed to be politically affiliated, especially if it goes to the Supreme Court, which is a not, you wouldn't be described as Republican, would it? But the judges swing more to the right than the left overall. And if he was to be let off, as it were, then it would be a farce of the American Constitution and political system and judicial system. And that's dangerous in terms of the direction it takes the United States, short term and long term, because basically you're saying that even though he's quite obviously incited an insurrection with that speech he made denouncing the election results and we will fight this in the courts and whatever, and spurring people on to tell the politicians that they're full of it and don't know what they're talking about. If he can get away with that, the precedent it sets for future court cases. I mean, I don't know if the US follows the same sort of base the UK does, where obviously you have a court case, a finding that's made can then be used as a sort of case scenario in future cases, case law, etc. Whereby that case sets precedent for following laws in the UK. I don't know if the US does that.
I mean, you had Roe v. Wade, which was, the case on abortion rights in the US, which was overturned. When was it? This year, last year? Which,
this year.
Yeah, case law that's been part of the US for so long and then gets overturned. So yeah, I think they do have similar, if not the same sort of precedent.
Yeah, it's
cases, but it is just, I haven't seen a lot of other, the Republicans you'd expect. I've not seen a lot of them coming out and saying, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene's already tweeted saying Nancy Pelosi's directly to blame for the security failures at the Capitol on January the 6th.
That does not surprise me.
She blamed everyone else. Now she must pay the price. Like, it's the same sort of language that was used on January the 6th.
They don't learn. They don't learn.
They don't. It's you know, the reason people are outside with makeshift gallows saying hang Mike Pence. And part of me thinks they would have done. Like, if they'd have actually got in.
Yeah. Well, they did get in. If they'd got into the inner chambers, then it would have been ropes.
That would have been insane. I mean,
if they'd committed public hangings and executions of politicians, Donald Trump would have probably been arrested on the spot there. But because they did infiltrate the Capitol for the first time in its history. Or, no, sorry. Is it the first time in its history? I think it has been attacked, but back in like when it was...
the Confederate flag never ever made it to Washington, and then it was in the Capitol building. Like, it was...
That's so shocking as it is anyway, that's something that still exists today. People still wave that flag. Like, come on.
The US has such a strange relationship with its history, and it's such a strange mentality, especially in those, deep South states where, the Confederacy is still a big thing. People still, I think the last Confederate statue has been removed. I think most, if not all now, have been removed. But it's a symbol of people that attacked the United States. It's a symbol of people that, tried to overthrow democracy. Yeah, it started a civil war. I mean, it doesn't help that it was on top of the General Lee and the Dukes of Hazzard, but it's by the by, bringing it into popular culture again. But it's strange how a symbol of attacking democracy and attacking the United States, which most people in the US are so, this patriotism, this proudness of being in the US, the whole thing that Trump spewed all the time, this whole "Make America Great Again." It's insane how a symbol and how they can lose sight of that so much. But by saying America's fantastic, yeah, we love America, let's overthrow and challenge all these results of this election, let's cause an insurrection, let's send all these people into the Capitol building, let's stoke that fire. It's distinctly un-American.
Well, they've basically described it as attacking democracy with democracy, but what they did was not democratic whatsoever. And again, you bring up Confederacy there. It's like they're called the United States of America, but in all its history, this is the first time in a long time that they've felt more ununited. If that's even a word. Just, they're not even a United States of America anymore. They are Democrat states and Republican states. They are right wing or left wing.
Yeah.
They are pro-abortion, anti-abortion. They're pro-gay rights, anti-gay rights. Like, what country can be like that? Where you can be more disenfranchised and more politically different across a country.
Yeah, it's the divided states of America, isn't it? I mean, you've got
basically
in the UK, you have people that are anti-gay rights, you have people that are, anti-abortion, you have people that will have different views.
Yeah,
where you stand on those views, it's up to you as a political stance. But personally, I'm more left-leaning. Wouldn't necessarily agree with those views, but the country as a whole has laws in place to protect those things. It has laws and previous cases, things like that keep the thing for the whole country. Obviously, we're much more than the US, but to have different states, you go across the state boundary and there's different laws.
Yeah,
but then there's also laws for the whole country.
Federal and state difference.
The whole system in the US is, I mean, again, I think we're going off on a bit of a tangent, but it helps to explain why there's such a divide and why why Trump was able to keep stoking those fires and fueling the fire and getting it to like whipping up the frenzy to the point of an insurrection.
Well, January 6th, people actually drove from other states in other parts of the country to be there. It wasn't, just anyone in Washington, that wanted to march up Pennsylvania Avenue to listen to his speech and then go on to Capitol Hill. These are people that traveled far and wide across the country to hear his speech and then went, oh yeah, we're going to storm the Capitol. And the thing is, everything to do with Trump, everything to do with what is going on now comes back to the disenfranchisement of the political establishment and the way the system has corrupted itself from within. The system in the US is too complicated for us to explain in a 30-minute episode, but simply put, it's complicated. It's too complicated for people to people do not have. I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. With the way the system is set up, people are now so disconnected from their politicians, from the Senate and the House, that you get these pockets of people who have very loud voices, who are spouting absolutely ridiculous statements, and Trump is just he's the
poster boy for
basically. But yeah, basically, he's the one that shouts it out loud for them, and he's also, because he's got a persona. We talk about personality politics, or a cult of personality, which we've seen across the world with different leaders. He's arguably he has allowed that voice to become more than just a loud voice in small pockets, to becoming a national ideology.
He's so narcissistic that to him is being successful, and that to him is being a good president, is having these people that will follow you no matter what you do or say, and people that will storm the United States Capitol because of something you said. The narcissism comes into it, and the equivalent in the UK would be like Alan Sugar saying, "Oh yeah, Rishi Sunak, oh what a horrible man, he don't deserve." I don't know why he sounds like I know he's Cockney, but that's terrible. I'm gonna stop. It'd be like Alan Sugar. It'd be like Alan Sugar.
Oh my god.
Rishi Sunak doesn't deserve to be prime minister. He's, doesn't have a mandate. How about we all go down to Downing Street? Let's all go to Westminster. Everybody storm into the House of Commons, and let's put Boris back in charge, for instance.
Well, I mean, talk about Boris, for example. Look, Boris has always been registered with that cult of personality. That he brings that sort of Trumpism, shall we say, to British politics. But he knew when he had to go. It took a while to force him out, but he did go, and he did go because he does love his country, and he does and in a way where he has respect for the system. Donald Trump does not have respect for the American system. He has, again, to use the popular phrase, he has all over the Constitution. That is basically what he's done, and it's a mess.
As a man who comes from a family where narcissism and nepotism is the central core of the Trump name, is it any surprise that January the 6th happened? Is it any surprise that he's been given these suggestions of 4 criminal charges? I don't think it is. I think in his mind he believes that what he was doing was the right thing. I'm Donald Trump. I'm correct. You're wrong. It was the basis of his entire presidential career. Was I'm right, you're wrong, shut up. That's it. There wasn't any debate. There wasn't any discourse. There wasn't any, all right, fair enough. I see where you're coming from. I might have been wrong. Other
And
presidents.
when he's losing as well because he starts going to name calling.
Yeah, he's like a big Vaseline what's it man child.
That image is so bad.
He's so slippery. He just resorts to being like, I know you are. You said you are, but what am I? That sort of childish behavior.
Yeah, we laugh, but it's so sad.
It's terrifying. It's so terrifying that man was in charge of the most powerful country in the world. It's terrifying.
He set their political standards back decades.
Oh, absolutely.
And they won't be fixed by Biden. They won't be fixed by whoever the next president is. It's going to take a while to fix it, but to fix it, you need Trump gone, as it were. The fact that he's still, I know he's not on Twitter, even though Elon Musk almost allowed him back on. Or no, he has allowed him back on, but he doesn't use it. Sorry, correction. But he has his own, Truth Social. He has his own app where he is able to spout whatever he wants to all of his followers because they're the only ones on it. And if anything, that's probably even worse because there's no political discourse then. That in terms of a sort of a balanced discourse. It's one fat echo chamber of political hatred and I'm the only one that has any clue about how to deal with this country and save it from China and
China.
Putin's actually not that bad a guy, and
I think
Zelensky's stealing all our money and our weapons and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's we're all guilty of living in an echo chamber sometimes. I think.
Well, if you're on Twitter, everyone is.
Oh God, yeah, and it is. It's hard to go and seek out views that you don't agree with, but there are people that have those views, and I think obviously you don't have to agree with those views, and some views are, abhorrent. Very, don't agree with a lot of views, but I think it's important to know that those views exist.
I would, yeah.
I think we've gone a bit of a.
That it's so easy to do that with Trump. I mean, let's be honest. If we come back to the actual charges or the they're not charges, the counts of the suggested charges that the U.S. Senate committee has put against him. Following that, I think the most recent polling has seen that that plus Mar-a-Lago plus they've released his tax returns, or they're going to. Have you seen the House committee have voted to release partially redacted tax returns? They can't release the full thing, but
I saw some and he made so much profit and paid so little tax.
Well, he's the first U.S. president ever to be elected and not release their tax returns, and he boasted about it. He boasted about what's it called? He said he was smart because he had paid no federal taxes.
He's just an idiot.
How can you get away with saying that in public and not being charged? I don't understand it.
Because the man is covered in Vaseline, James. He's a slippery individual. I
can't edit that one onto the front of this, onto the thumbnail. I might get blocked.
A Vaseline up Trump. The charges, we'll see what happens. I think he's going to fight it all the way. He's probably going to put Rudy Giuliani back out in between a crematorium and a sex shop to defend his honor.
Have you seen that he admitted in the Senate committee that he actually thought now that the election wasn't stolen and that the machine, because he originally used to spout that the whole Trump idea that the machines were defrauding him, but he admitted in his hearing that he actually believes that there was nothing wrong with them.
I think the dominoes are starting to fall around Trump. I think a lot of people are starting to, sit there in these committee meetings, these hearings, and essentially what are mini little sort of trials. It is.
Yeah.
You're under oath.
You can commit perjury, I believe, there as well.
Yeah. So I think the dominoes are starting to fall where people are going, actually, maybe it wasn't quite the right thing to do.
Well, his supporters, I was going to add there, his supporters have said that they'd support his policies, but they wouldn't support him. And he's currently down at 33% approval, sort of like to a 56% approval for Ron DeSantis amongst Republican voters.
Ron DeSantis,
yeah,
the next,
which he is basically Trump policies in a different body.
Yeah.
But he is not carrying the level of back. Trump has, because of this, with all the court cases against him. I mean, where was it? There was here. He's currently facing at least 4 major investigations into wrongdoing, including handling of White House documents, the election, the insurrection, and his finances, with probes in Florida, Fulton County, Georgia, Washington, D.C., and New York. With all of that, he's carrying way more baggage than even he can handle. His supporters, he's still got core supporters, but too many will, or not too many, most of them will say that they still support the ideology that he brings, but they can't support him because he represents something very un-American now, which is shocking to say considering some of the stuff he's said and done in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
But even for them, it's gone past the level of nationalism that they have. Or they'll call it patriotism, but it depends how you view it.
And I think that's what it boils down to, isn't it? And that's what we've touched on, is Trump now represents something so un-American that even the sort of staunchest MAGA supporters are thinking, is like, even they're starting to question, these 4 charges. I mean, I'm sure they'll be like, oh, it's Democrat-led committee, it's a witch hunt, etc. Some of them will be, but
he called it kangaroo court.
Yeah, I think some of them are now coming around to realize that maybe not such a nice guy, this Donald.
Yeah, Donald had his last quack.
Oh God! Oh my God! Wow.
I'm sorry.
So you should be.
That's a red card offense. Oh no! I can't believe I said that.
You got to leave this in now. This is the problem. You have to leave it in.
Oh dear. Yeah, we can make that the promo. Yeah, but trying to bring it back. Considering everything that's gone on, I don't see him. Even if the DOJ don't take the Senate committee, recommendations, they still have their own investigation. Either way, he's going to end up in court, at the very least, over the documents in Mar-a-Lago, because that represents a serious breach of of what, being a president. It's a breach of the what's it called, Secrets Act, whatever. Language escapes me now. And he will be in court for all these reasons. If he's found guilty on any one of the charges against him, or even just his tax charges in all these different counties and states, if he's found guilty in any of them, he's not going to be legally allowed to run. I know. Politics will be less fun, that's for sure. Yeah, or scary, however you want to view it. This
is what, I'm so glad that the US don't have the same laws of like filming and photography in court, because oh my God, if he actually gets to the point where Donald Trump is in court, I'm gonna stay up until whatever time that's on for the live tweeting, for watching it. That is gonna be.
Should we live stream our reaction?
Oh, that's gonna be something else.
That'd be so much funny. That'd be so funny. I think yeah, we don't know when any of these things are gonna come to a head. We don't know when said charges will be brought against him. We're talking about a political system or a legal system that could see this take another year or two at least, by which time he may actually be in the White House, for all we know. So and the thing is, the sad thing with Trump is that you actually can't count him out. Like, well, not the scary thing is you can't count him out. Is what I should say. However, it is looking difficult for him within the Republican primaries, because I have a feeling that it is shifting heavily towards Ron DeSantis. The question is, would Ron DeSantis be happy to step down from his role as governor in Florida, having only just been elected to that position? Well, I think he got re-elected, didn't he? Actually, he got re-elected.
I think.
Do you think he would?
I think he's got the best chance of the Republicans to win the presidential race in the next election. The Democrats, I still don't think know who's going to run. I would imagine Kamala Harris.
If Biden runs, I'll be surprised.
I'd be very, very surprised if he runs again. But could do. Never know. Strange things have happened.
Like Donald Trump getting elected.
Oh God.
Yeah, but I think that's where we'll leave it. 10,000 documents, 100 of which were classified, and an insurrection that almost took down the entire political system of the United States.
And
later,
a partridge in a pear tree.
Yes.
Yeah, I realise I've had this Santa hat on the whole time and not actually acknowledged that I've had a Santa hat on the whole time, because we're recording this just before Christmas. So
yeah, I'm in different abode with a different mic. So if it sounds weird, potentially too loud for all I know, I'm sorry. In post, I'll try and edit, but we'll see.
James is at home in Sweden.
I know, made it back to good old socialist Sweden. Something the US would not understand, considering they don't actually know what a socialist is. Or true socialism. Yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you for watching another episode, and we'll try and make sure we keep these up as weekly as possible, considering it's the Christmas period, but don't ask too much.
I'm going to be so full of Toblerone and Baileys over the next few weeks. So
mince pies.
If you're listening to this around Christmas, have a lovely one. Hope you all keep well. Have a great new year. If you're listening to this, I don't know, like next June, then happy day. Have a great day.
Bye.
See you later. He left the meeting. He's probably just left. It's still recorded. It's just me going, he's fully just left. That was so funny. He just absolutely left. See you later. Absolutely gone. Goodbye.